I'm Shoshana Burgett from Color Karma, the creative hub for all things production, and I am here with
Cary Sherburne, senior editor at WhatTheyThink, the leading industry news and analysis site
for all things manufacturing and printing and
there you
textile
go.
printing. See?
And we're here at, we just finished the AATCC slash SGIA Digital Textile Printing Conference.
Yep.
Takes us back to the 90s in printing, right? When the analog to digital transformation was beginning to happen. And there's so many synergies, but similarities, yeah, between those days and now in terms of, because the textile industry is really in its infancy. Only about 6% worldwide of printed textiles are printed digitally.
What was interesting also in terms of the similarities from the 90s is back then, we had yellow pages and books and marketing material, and you ordered things 20,000, 40,000, and you might have thrown out 60% of it.
Yeah.
Where today, even when it kicked off, there was this assumption that digital was just going to replace the way they're doing it today with the rotogravure, but it's really not. It's just going to change and evolve, no different than it did for us.
Yeah, it's sort of complementary technologies, and there are a couple of observations. One is that just like with commercial print, when digital came out, a lot of designers don't really understand, nor are they being taught, what the possibilities are. So, for example, in textiles, if you're printing with screen, for example,
yep.
You can't have 47 colors. You just can't, and with digital, you can have really an unlimited color palette to work with.
But if you have an unlimited color palette, it's not saying you can hit all the same colors in the gamut, which was the same problem we had with graphic designers. It's being able to say, with this little device, really, I can hit a very broad brush set of colors. I just need to understand what colors I hit. Whether or not the device has CMYK or adds different 3 colors or 4 colors to get a larger gamut. But once you understand the technology, and Mike from Adobe said it, it's designing for the intent, leveraging your knowledge of what the technology is.
Yeah.
Because once you understand what the technology is capable for, then you're no longer bound by it, and creatives can now design around the technology.
Yeah, and the other part is the buyers, whether the brands or the merchandisers or whatever, and same thing happened in commercial print, where they think about the cost per piece as opposed to the total lifecycle cost, and that's the way they're compensated and incented, and it's the way they've always done it. But with digital, you should be looking at the total life cycle costs, because like you said, if you print, 20,000 brochures, or you make
100,000 jackets
and you throw half of it away, then your cost per piece is not what you thought it was.
And I may not throw them away for textiles, they might go to the discounts. But at the end of the day, I overproduced because the determination of what the volume was done months and months ago.
Right.
And we can't predict the weather anymore, and much worse than the weathermen did.
And then the other part is that, digital enables new applications that you couldn't do before. Does this sound familiar to anybody?
Sound familiar? So new applications.
So for example, the customization, and I think about one. This isn't printing, but one example is Ralph Lauren and the sweaters. This was knitting, so you can order a sweater with your school logo or whatever you want on it and have it made just for you. Or you can make a pair of blue jeans that are 3D modeled, sized for you. Or you can go online and pick out a dress style and a pattern on a fabric, surface pattern on a fabric, and a type of fabric, and have it made just for you, which you can't really do with rotogravure or screen.
But customize it. So the consumer can't pick every single color in the brand palette. They have 5, 6 choices, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I'm going in and I'm defining what that shoe would look like. Then there's an emotional attachment for it, and that is very different, and that actually enables quality to shift from being the requirement to the emotional, because just like we did with print, with photo albums and things like that, the quality was not the same. But you had, mothers or friends saying, but they made this great photo book for me. You have that emotional attachment.
Yeah. And a lot of times the producers or the owners of the the brand or whatever get caught up in, I have to have this exact blue because it's my color. And the consumer, just like in print, they don't get a piece of direct mail and say, ooh, the color is wrong. So it's, and also when they customize something online, it's kind of a fun process, and it's made just for them, and they're not likely to return. A lot of times you can't anyway on customized, but returns is such a huge problem in the industry, and that basically goes away because even if it's not exactly what they ordered,
I customized it. It's that emotional attachment. Quality is really important, but it's, the gross margins you can get on customization. The consumer loyalty, consumer engagements, taking pictures of it, putting it on social, tagging it, it just opens up a whole new world.
But that being said, there was a huge amount of conversation about color management, which is still very important because, if it's going to be red, you want it to at least be red,
not orange.
Right? Or rosy. So color management, sustainability obviously is a huge topic. And also just, getting the suppliers on board with, okay, you make this great printer, but it's part of an ecosystem, and we really need to all work together to make that ecosystem work better. It's not just my printer, and we did that right? Finger pointing, and we don't need that.
And we heard the proprietary. Why are manufacturers proprietary? If it's an ecosystem, open it up. Right. That was one of the brands said that's a reason they don't invest in digital. Was they felt it was closed and not open to connect to other things. Sound familiar again?
Yeah. Although I have to say that when you compare commercial print to textiles is a lot more complicated. The supply chain is more complicated. The whole process is more complicated. We in commercial print we talk about the paper and what you can what technologies you can use to print on it, and if it's inkjet you might need treatment and whatever. But with textiles it's a lot more complicated, and there are a lot of different kinds of functional coatings and treatments that they do to fabric that affect the way the print comes out. So some of it you can't even do digital print with. So for example, there's a company that does micro encapsulation. And in their case, the micro.
Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, micro. So it's little tiny capsules that are treated into the fabric at the mill, and when they break, they do certain things. So in this case, when they break, and this was actually for bedding or for carpeting or whatever, but when they break, they put little probiotics or whatever you want to call them that eat pet dander. So if you're allergic to pet dander, it cuts that out of your carpet and your bedding or whatever. But you can't run that through a printer that's going to put pressure on it because it breaks the So you have to think about the whole purpose of what it is you're doing, and is digital the right answer? Is it analog? And
they're going to bit of both.
And they're going to live together for ever. Really.
And you talked about the printers and how it's different. It's more complicated in textiles. With printers we used to talk about inline finishing, and I can pull a color sheet and a black and white sheet, and I can pull different papers. Where in textiles, if you use the same analogy, it's different textiles being pulled together. But some of the pages are being produced at different printers. And some
they have to
printers
all
are doing it all at the same time, and some go to a whole different bindery. So it really is. There's so many similarities, but the complexity has to do with the volumes. It has to do with the materials, the technology and capability, and then pulling it into stitch, sew, and all the other other pieces.
And the other thing that's happening is as the technology evolves, more of that textile business that went overseas is coming back, but it's coming back in a different form. And there are beginning to emerge what you would call microfactories, where it's vertically integrated and everything happens under one roof. Even though we feel like we've done this before, it's exciting to be doing it again, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It's fun. And now we have all the lessons, so we can come forward and say, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
That was painful. Don't do that. Go down that path.
Been there, done that, have the closet full of T-shirts, right?
Yeah, so it was fun 2 days.
Thanks for inviting me to speak with you.
Thank you very much. This is Shoshana Burgett from Color Karma.
And Cary Sherburne from What They Think. Signing off.
Have a happy day.